Fast-breaking developments on Iran. President Trump pausing Project Freedom as he touts great progress toward diplomacy, all as Iran peace talks reach the wire. Welcome to the Big Money Show. I'm Taylor Riggs, along with my co-hosts, Dagan McDowell, Brian Brenberg, Jackie DeAngelis, and with us for the entire hour, Fox Business contributor Lou Bassanese. Great to have you.
Good to be here.
So both sides are reviewing a potential breakthrough with Iran. According to Axios, it's a one-page memo that could end the fighting and open the door to nuclear negotiations. That optimism is already hitting investors. You had stocks at records and oil prices plummeting. We're back down below 100 a barrel on WTI. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says it is time for Iran to face reality.
The time's come for Iran to make a sensible choice. And it's not easy for them to do that, obviously, because they have a fracture in their own leadership system. And our president has proven time and again that his preference is peace. But Iran must accept the reality of this situation and come to the negotiation table and accept terms that are good for them, but ultimately good for the world.
And Lou, I don't know. I think the big question is will they?
Well, will they, won't they? The president's going to resume, and it'll be even worse if they don't negotiate. I think we said this last week. We have all the leverage here. You're seeing the jet fuel shortage really impact everyone beyond Iran. So now you're going to have this global pressure to come to a resolution. And I think in the lead here, too, we're acting as if stocks are responding just to this. I would argue stocks, they've already well rebounded off when this war started. They're responding to amazing fundamentals that are underpinning this, whether oil's at $100 or $70 a barrel. So I do think it's just a matter of time. The other side of that, playing the Debbie Downer would be, well, we said it was only going to be a certain amount of weeks, and it's now dragging on to months. I still think the outside of this is maybe 30 to 60 days.
More?
Maybe. I mean, the ongoing back and forth. Look, we're not going to come to a final resolution overnight or in a week, but I think we'll get to a point where the Strait of Hormuz is reopened. And we have, as you know, the stock market is always a forward-looking beast. It's looking past and through this. I think the politics will follow through and get this done.
Dagan, I want to talk about some of those fundamentals. Here's a few headlines for you. According to our Department of Transportation, U.S. Airline spent $5 billion on fuel in March. That's up 56% month over month. He talked about the fundamentals. I will say strong. 77% of market cap has reported. Sales growth is 11%. Earnings growth is 26%. And the market is responding how you would imagine. If you beat on the top and bottom line, your stock is up 1.2% on average. If you've missed on the top and the bottom, your shares are lower by 4.3%. So this is a market, again, that I guess you're still just trying to read the tea leaves, though. And I think the tea leaves come down to, yes, we have earnings, but then you're just like, is the strait open or is it not? And is oil flowing or is it not?
Right. I used this analogy earlier in the day when I was talking to somebody in the building. If you're in the ocean, you want to either have the wave dump me on the beach or just carry me out to sea. Instead, in this scenario, we're all kind of at the water park, stuck in the wave pool. And it's like,
I don't know if any of those sound idyllic.
Where are we going here? It's like, we're not on the beach. We're not being taken out to sea. We're just kind of bobbing around like somebody's fishing for crappie.
Oh, dear God.
But you mentioned the airlines. Who's putting money in the airlines at this point? That is the very sector that I would, never commit money to, ever. However, particularly in this environment, how much pricing power do they have? People are having to face, it's north of $4.50 a gallon. I think it's $4.53 right now, nationwide average. That flying for a lot of folks, that's a luxury. And the economy is good enough that people can still potentially go on vacation this summer, but that's not where I would be betting. I was listening to the Ken Griffin interview that he did at Milken, and we'll talk about it later in the show, and I won't give away what the topic will be. But he said he was very supportive of President Trump on what he's doing with Iran. He did say and what he did with Venezuela because of just the oil and energy riches there, and Venezuela now firmly in the camp of freedom and the United States of America. But he did say that the president has not done a good enough job at communicating the need to ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. And he used the example of we used to have to dive under our desk for nuclear drills. And so it's very, very clear in my mind and in my heart what this means for the world and our future. But the president needs to do a better job at that. Griffin also said that if this goes on because of our energy independence, because of the economy, because of AI, because of growth, we are in good shape here in the United States, but emerging nations are not, and they are in rough shape. And if this goes on for 6 to 9 to 12 months, we will, get pulled into a global recession.
Yeah. I'm just curious.
That's not showing up in the market.
Is it possible, though, to communicate the gravity of that situation unless you experience it? I know Brian's always talking about this before. Is the real threat? We got to eliminate the nuclear threat, but can you replace experience of having to dive under a desk for a nuclear drill for people that are never going to have to do that?
I thought Rubio.
It's hard to do.
Right. So how do you communicate
People
that?
are never going to understand what it is that they missed, the bad that they missed out on as a result of this. You can't quantify it.
So, Jackie, let's stick with you. We've talked about, emerging markets, emerging countries that are feeling the brunt of it. I would also argue Europe. There's a couple of data points. We've talked about this. The UK, of everyone, is the largest net importer of jet fuel. Their bond yields on the 10-year have also risen the most since this conflict broke out. It's not the U.S. It's the UK and some other large European countries that have seen their bonds sell off much more than ours have. Why aren't they showing up to help? What do you want to see?
Well, because they're weak, and there's a lot of weakness around the world, and I think that's a huge issue. And, we always cite examples of these socialist, communist policies that politicians on the left are trying to bring into play here in the United States. And we say, look at Europe as an example. You don't want to end up like Europe is. It would be nice if they would help, but in my view, and I know the president has said, they can if they want, but it's a little too late at this point. I think I'm watching these markets today, just the indices and the oil price, that sharp drop, and I'm thinking to myself, the markets believe. The markets wanted to hear the word end, and Marco Rubio gave it to them. But I'm still a little bit concerned, Dagan, as you point out, about Ken Griffin, what this really is, whether it's President Trump's deal or it was the bad JCPOA deal. When you have a regime that you can't trust and they agree to something on paper, there's no guarantee that they're going to agree to it. And that's where my skepticism comes in. Does that have a long-term impact on the market, or, a short-term impact? Probably not, because I don't imagine the Iranians are going to, if they sign this one-page deal that President Trump is supposedly negotiating, are they going to do something right away? No, I do believe that we've taken them out at the knees for right now, but how long does that last? And did you really go in and kill the root of the problem? I don't necessarily think we've done that unless something changes dramatically. But what you see in the oil price is just that risk premium, that speculation that was baked into the price to go from over 100 to all of a sudden drop. I think some of the lows were like 91, 92 for WTI is pretty significant. And it just shows you that it wasn't really about the supply per se at this moment. It was about what folks thought could happen. And it's amazing how it gets erased overnight.
Brian, I have a chart of the day for you.
Yes.
You're going to poo-poo it.
I will.
But I want to do it anyways, because to me, this really tied in high stock prices and high gas prices and how that's affecting different people differently. It's consumer sentiment. I know, poo-poo me all you want, but let's just throw it up there. Consumer sentiment in blue since the Iran war has turned positive. I would argue, right? Higher stock prices. You feel better because we're back at record highs. Consumer sentiment in green are for people making below 50,000. Blue was above six figures. So you're rolling over if you're making below 50,000. You don't feel good maybe because high gas prices. And so to me, that sort of captured how you can have high stock prices and the market feels good, and high gas prices and some people on the lower income spectrum don't feel good.
Yes, because the stock market is not the economy. It is related to the economy, sometimes more, sometimes less, but it is not the economy, and high gas prices stink. So I'm with you on that. I respect people who feel badly about low gas prices. It's real, and it affects businesses and individuals. I have no idea if we're going to get a peace deal out of this. We have been through this little dance many times, and that's not a criticism. I'm just saying I have no idea if we're going to get it. A couple things do stand out to me. One is this combo of Project Freedom and Blockade must really be working, because I think Iran cares about it a lot. They are responding to the fact that we're doing those two things. And I actually think that flips the script a little bit, because Jackie, you talked about what if we do a deal, but they don't follow through. They have now seen that we can blockade that strait and squeeze them out. And I think that's always going to be looming in their minds. Does it fix everything? I don't know, but I think it matters. China says open the strait to Iran, okay?
We know why.
Yes. So China is getting religion on that one. That's what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent wanted. And then the one that really got me today, in like the realm of didn't see it happening, now it's happening, Norway is reopening 3 gas fields in the North Sea. Norway. 3 gas fields they closed decades ago, and they're reopening them. Does that have anything specifically to do with Hormuz? I don't know. I'm not trying to connect it to that. But what I am saying is, while we deal with the short term of Hormuz, the energy world is changing. It's changed in Venezuela. It's changing in Norway. It's changing in the UAE and OPEC. It is changing everywhere. And so even if we don't get everything back in the Strait of Hormuz, we will never have a Strait of Hormuz moment like this again, because it will matter less in the grand scheme of the world. And I think that's a win.
It's like the trade war opened up everyone's eyes to, we need to have multiple suppliers and multiple trade partners, because if there's a tariff here, we've got to make the maker of iPhones move it to India or Vietnam or somewhere else. So I think your point is well known.
Conceptually, but until there's a watershed moment, I feel like nobody really understands the importance, and that's this watershed moment. I was going to say, for Norway to do this, pigs must be flying somewhere.
Norway!
They want to make sure they've got a little extra oil and gas.
I see your Norway and Rasia, France. Did you see?
Fold.
Did you see that France is sending its Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier battle group through the Suez Canal today? It's en route to the southern part of the Red Sea. It will eventually escort commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is part of the French-UK mission. And it is not, of course, the French, the cheese-eating surrender donkeys that they are, have made clear that they are not part. This is a defensive mission, that they would start operations in the Strait of Hormuz once the fighting is over.
Oh, geez, thanks.
Yeah. But they're there.
Still.
They're there. It's a
And
win.
that is important
Yes.
to energy flows.
It's happening.
I agree.